Good morning, children. Sairam. I welcome you all to the online class of economics. Children, today I am going to start the next chapter of our book, Indian Economic Development. That is chapter number second, and the name of our chapter is 5-Year Plans in India. That is Goals and Achievement. Children, this is the first video of this chapter, and in this video, we are going to learn first what is economic planning, need of economic planning, directive planning, and comprehensive planning. Thereafter, we are going to learn the types of economies, that is capitalist economy, socialist economy, and mixed economy. We are going to cover up the long period and short term period of, short period goals of planning in India. So these are basically the topic what we are going to cover up in today's video, and the remaining topics we are going to learn in the next video. So children, let us start with a first topic, that is what is an economic planning. Children, in the previous chapter we have learned that on the eve of independence, India's economy was completely undeveloped. So after the 200 years of the British rule and their continuous exploitative policies, India finally got freedom from Britishers on 15th August 1947. So now it was very necessary to reconstruct the backward and the stagnant Indian economy into a developed economy. So, therefore, the most important task before the government of India was to decide the type of economic system, so which would be most suitable for India. So, economic system basically refers to an arrangement by which the central problem of an economy are solved. So, in this chapter, we are going to learn basically the the process and the stages of economic planning. So, what is economic planning basically, children? What is economic planning? Economic planning refers to a system under which a central authority like Planning Commission in India after independence set a set of targets and specify a set of program and policies to achieve those targets within the specified period of time. So the principal focus is on the rational management of the scarce resources. So the resources are to be rationally utilized so that the social welfare is maximized along with the GDP growth. So this was the principal focus of India after getting independence from the Britishers. So the economic system or the economic planning may be defined as making major economic decisions like what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce by the conscious decision of a determinate authority, that is India, and on the basis of a comprehensive survey of the economy as a whole. So, economic planning means utilization of countries' resources in different development activities in accordance with the natural priorities. This is the definition which is given by the Planning Commission. So, children, in India, the idea of economic planning, you can say, became a reality with the setting up of Planning Commission in the year 1950. Children always understood that the Planning Commission in India was set up in the year 1950 under the chairmanship of Professor Mahalobinus. Mahalobinus. It is very important to note that the Planning Commission has now been abolished. So in the year January 2015, this Planning Commission was being replaced by the Nithya Ayog, and the role of Niti Ayog is to make such policies that accelerate the pace of GDP growth. So, children, economic planning is to make decision with respect to the use of resources. As I just said, we are majorly focusing on utilizing the scarce resources in the much rationally way, and the objective of the economic planning is first the economic growth, reduction of economic inequalities, balanced regional development, modernization, and reduction of unemployment. So, these are the basic objectives of this economic planning. So, let us move ahead, children. As I just said, we are talking about the Planning Commission of India. So, children, the Planning Commission is basically an institution in the government of India which formulate the economic policies and draft 5-year plans. So it was set up in the year 15th March 1950 with Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru as the chairman. So the commission has a nominated deputy chairman who has rank of cabinet minister, and Montang Singh Ahluwalia is currently the deputy chairman of the planning commission. So, what is basically the function of a planning commission? The function of the planning commission is first to eliminate the physical capital and human resources, to estimate the fiscal capital and the human resources of a country. So, the planning commission is basically focusing on estimating the social the physical capital as well as the human resources of a country. Children, one thing is to understand first that why we need of the planning. Children, as you all know that India inherited from the British a backward and the stagnant economy. So it was backward as the level of output and productivity was very low, as we have already learned in the last video. The production as well as the productivity of India during the British rule was very low, and it was stagnant as the GDP growth was extremely low, or you can say sturdy. Such an economic such an economy could not be left to the market forces of demand and supply to trace its path of growth and development. Therefore, it is needed a big push of investment supported by the government. So it was a need of the economic planning. Now the next function of basically of the planning commission is to prepare plan for making effective and balanced utilization of human resources. Next is to determine the various stages of planning. That was the main function of the planning commission. We are in a way to determine the various stages of planning. Next is to indicate those factors of the government which check the economic development. To advise the central and the state government on special matters referred. These are basically the functions of the planning commission. Now, children, as I just said, the the planning commission was being replaced by the Niti Ayog, and in January 2015. Now we are going to learn the replacement of the planning commission. So, children, Niti Ayog, just see the Niti Ayog or National Institution of Transforming India Ayog is a policy think tank of the government of India that replaces the planning commission and aims to involve the state in economic policy making India. So the Union Government of India has announced the formation of Niti Ayog on January 1st, 2015, and Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi was the chairperson of this Niti Ayog. Vice Chairman is Arvind Panagre, and the CEO is Sindhu Shri Kular, that is who is an IAS. So these are basically the management committee of this Niti Ayog, in which the Prime Minister is known as the chairperson of the Niti Ayog. Vice person we have vice chairman, chairperson we have Arvind sir, and the COE we have Kuller sir. That is who is IAS. So next we move ahead, children. What is basically the objective of the Niti Ayog? Children, the main objective of Niti Ayog is to evolve a shared vision of national development priorities, sectors and strategies with the active involvement of states in the light of national objectives. The objective of this Niti Ayog is to involve each and every states, and all the state as well as the central and the union territories work together for the betterment of the countries. So that is why it is basically considered as the national objective of a country. So a pre now we have a famous you can say proverb which is given by the Professor Modi. A pre-people proactive and participative development agenda in guiding the principle behind Niti Ayog. So the main the main strategy, the main focus behind this Niti Ayog is to make certain the policy is to make certain policies or certain strategy which will very helpful for the which will very helpful for the country to make a proper social, economic and financially growth of a country. So such policy was being adopted under this Niti Ayog. Next, we have the objective, as the basic objective behind this is the faster, sustainable, and more inclusive growth. The government intend to reduce the poverty by 10% during the 12th five-year plan. For growth to be more inclusive, we need better performance in agriculture. If we want to see a greater increase in the growth of a country, in the GDP, we do increase a better performance in the agriculture. The faster creation of jobs, the employment opportunities, we can give more and more to the youth or to the youngsters, especially in the manufacturing industry. The stronger effect efforts at health, education, and infrastructure. We are in a focus to develop our infrastructure towards in towards in health or towards in social and economic infrastructure. We want to grow up. And the last one is special plans for disadvantages the backward regions. So these are the primary, the basic objectives of the Niti Ayog. Now we have next topic, like why we need a economic planning. Now, why we are in need of this economic planning. Children, when India gained independence, its economics was groveling in dust. As we all know, the condition of India's economy was very backward and stagnant. The Britishers have left the Indian economy crippled, and the father of the development formulated five-year plans to develop the Indian economy. Some of the problem necessitated need for an immediate plan. So in this way, there is a need to start up the five-year plans, just to remove off the most important the problems, or you can say the necessities of the economy at that point of time. The first one is to the vicious circle of poverty. To reduce the poverty of a country, to improve the foreign trade, to the need for the rapid industrialization. We are in need to increase our industrialization so that the economic condition of the economy can groom up. Next is the population pressure, development of the natural resources. We are in a need to develop more and more natural resources by which we can produce many goods and services, and we can be in a we can be in a good protective hands. So the next we have a directive and a directive planning and the comprehensive planning. Now children, what is the directive planning? Children, directive planning refers to a system in which planning is introduced just to direct the forces of demand and supply so that the system does not go wayward from the state of equilibrium. The directive planning is such a planning where there is a no participation of the state in the process of the growth, and it is more like directing the private sector with regard to a set of does nots, so that the national interest does not suffer while the individual gains are allowed to be maximized. This is called a directive planning. So directive planning is pursued in the capitalist economy. So as you all know children, the capitalistic economy is known as the free is known as the you can say the market economy, in which is free from the market forces of demand and supply. So the major you can focus on the capitalist economy is just to maximize the personal interest. I mean, the producers are interested to maximize their own profits, whereas the consumers are to maximize their own, where the consumers are interested to maximize their own satisfaction. So this is basically the capitalistic economy. So in the capitalistic economy children, as I just said, uh, production is done mainly for earning the profits, and the central problems like what to produce, how to produce, or whom to produce are solved towards the market forces of demand and supply. Now let's move on to the comprehensive planning. Now, what is comprehensive planning, children? In comprehensive planning, it refers to a system in which the government herself participates in the process of the growth and development. So, comprehensive planning is pursued in the socialistic economy as well as in the mixed economy, where we can see that there are in capitalistic economy there is a major contribution of the government. I mean, the intervention of the government is maximum there, and in case of mixed economy both private and public sectors coexist as agent of the growth. So, children, what is basically the socialist economy? A socialist economy is the one in which the means of productions are owned, controlled, and operated by the government of the India. So, under the socialist economy, the three central problems are solved in the following manner. Like what to produce, if we're talking about what to produce in the socialistic society, in the socialist economy, the government decide what to produce in according with the need of the society. How to produce, this is to be decided, the government decide how the goods are to be produced, and it lasts for whom to be produced. I mean, the distribution under the socialism is supposed to be based on what people need and not on what they can afford to purchase. So, a socialist nation provides free health care to the citizen who need it. So, this is basically the comprehensive planning where the individual gains are allowed to be maximized as under the capitalist economy, and the social gains are fostered towards the direct participation of the state as under the socialism. Now we are going to learn the types of economy. Children, what is economy? Children, an economy is a system which is spread over a particular area that reveals the nature and level of economic activity in the concerned area. It explains how the people of the concerned area earns their livelihood. So children, an economic system we are talking about refers to the way in which the resources of the company are used to produce goods and services, and the manner in which these goods and services are distributed for the consumption is known as the economy. So, an economic system, we can say, it refers to an arrangement by which the central problem of an economy are solved. So first we have market economy, which we call as the capitalist economy, as well as the free economy. So we are going to learn the market economy or the capitalist economy. So children, a capitalist economy is one in which the means of production are owned, controlled, and operated by the private sector. So the production is done mainly for earning the profits, and the central problems like what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce are solved towards the market forces of demand and supply. So we have some examples of the market economy like the USA, Japan are some of the examples of the market economy where you find there is no intervention, or there is very less intervention of the government. I mean, you can do not find any kind of government intervention majorly in this kind of economies. Everybody is free to work for their own betterment. Like the producers are free to produce only those goods and services which yield him the maximum profits, whereas the consumers are free to consume those goods and services which gives them the maximum satisfaction. So you can say under the capitalistic economy, the three central problems are solved in the following manner. The first one is like what to produce. So, children, under this system, only those goods are produced that can be sold profitably either in the domestic or in the foreign market. Second is how to produce. Goods are produced using cheaper techniques of production. In case of the cheaper labor, children, labor intensive methods of productions are used, and in case of costly labor, capital intensive methods of productions are used. If we see for whom to produce, in a capitalist economy, children, goods produced are distributed among people not on the basis of their needs but on the basis of their income or purchasing power. So this means that a sick person will be able to get medicines only when he can afford to buy it, otherwise not, even if there is an urgency. So this is basically a kind of the capitalist economy. Now, if we're talking about the features, so the features of a capitalist economy are as under. The first one is the government play a little role in the economic activity. Emphasis is on the freedom of the individual, the consumers, and the producers. The private sector, both the private firms as well as the individuals, are the basic economic questions. There is the consumer sovereignty. Profit maximization is the main role, and the price mechanism defines prices in this economy. So we do have advantages, we do have disadvantages as well. So the advantages here, we can see that the manufacturers are free to produce that goods and services what the consumer demands, and the consumer in turns are free to spend their money on what they see it fit. So these are basically the advantages. A large variety of goods and services are produced to satisfy the needs of the consumers. Prices are determined by the market forces of demand and supply. There is freedom from the government interference, and effective productions is promoted since the resources are allocated and is the profitable use. These are majorly the advantages. If we're talking about the disadvantages, since the making of profit is the dominant motive of the private sector, only goods and services that yield the maximum profit will be produced. Since there is a known government intervention in this type of economy, so the consumer could be exploited through the charging of the high prices for essential goods and services. So these are basically the disadvantages of this capitalist economy. There is more disadvantages as well, like this system lead to greater inequalities as the few richest getting richer and the many poor getting poor. I mean, the riches are going to be rich and the poor are getting poor day by day. So there is much pollution associated with the system, especially when the industrialization begins to develop. So these are basically the disadvantages of this market economy, or we call it a capitalist economy. Now we have the next kind of economy, that is the command economy, or we can say the socialist economy, or the communist economy. So, children, a socialist economy is the one in which the means of productions are owned, controlled, and operated by the government. So, under this socialist economy, the three central problems are solved basically in this way. And some of the examples of this capitalist economies are like sorry, some of the basic example of this economies are, if we're talking about the countries like Cuba, China, or Singapore. These are basically the countries who are having the socialist economy. I mean, these countries are properly adopting the socialist economy. So the three central problems in this economy can be solved, like what to produce, if we're talking about. So in the socialist economy, children, the government decide what to produce in accordance with the need of the society. I mean, whatever the society needs, the government should majorly focus only on that particular needs. Next is how to produce. The government decided that how the goods can be produced and for whom to produce. So the distribution under the socialism is supposed to be based on what people need and not on what they can afford to purchase. So a socialist nation provides the free health care to the citizens who need it. So in the socialist economy, children, all the economic decisions are being taken by the government for the social welfare. I mean, whatever is best suited to the economy, to the society, the government will adopt on the government should adopt only those decisions. So we do have advantages and disadvantages as well. The first advantage is that the state can intervene in areas to the economy through the passing of law to protect the citizens from the unfair trading practices. I mean, this economy is majorly beneficial for the poor sectors, those who are majorly you can say affected just because of higher prices as they are seen in the market economy. So both the government and the private sector basically cooperate in offering the certain services like transportation, the healthcare system. We do have disadvantages like too much government regulation may dampen the free enterprises spirit. I mean, when the involvement of the government is more, then it will affect the free it will also affect the economy in somehow. So some state owned industries, second is some state owned industries are allowed to operate inefficiently, thus wasting the resources. Since the private sector help to answer the economic questions, they can be the creation of the monopolies. When the government intervenes in the market by setting maximum the minimum prices, this may cause excess demand or supply, which may be difficult to regulate in the long run. So the inequalities distribution of wealth we can also arise in this kind of socialist economy. So this is basically the socialist economy. Now we are going to learn the last type of economy, which is the mixed economy. What is mixed economy, children? Mixed economic system refers to a system in which the public sector and the private sector are allowed their respective roles for solving the central problems of an economy. Social and in the mixed economy, the government and the market together solves the three central problems, that is what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. So the the economic system that incorporates the government involvement as well as the market based economy is known as the mixed economy. We have some of the examples, like we can find the mixed economy in some of the countries like USA or Japan. some modern economies in India also we are adopting the mixed economy. I mean the private sector as well as the government sector both are working for the betterment of the society. What are the features behind it? The features are like the economic decisions are taken by the price mechanism system and also by the state. The private business sector operates along the line of the free market economy, where the price mechanism determines the allocation of resources. The public sector provides goods and services that are private sector is unable to or unwilling to produce with a bureaucratic setup like the planned economy. I mean, wherever the private sectors are failing in making the production, then the government sector is completing the production just for the welfare of the people. So we have an example is like Caribbean regions, the United States of America are some of the countries who are adopting the mixed economic system. We have advantages now. The first advantage is the state can intervene in the area of the economy through the passing of law to protect the citizens from the unfair trading practices. Second is both the government and the private sector can operate in offering certain services, that is transportation and the healthcare. We do have disadvantages like too much the government regulations may dampen the free enterprise economy. I mean, if there is a major rules and regulations, the intervention of the government, then the private sector feel difficult to work in that economy, and in this way the free enterprises spirit will go down. I mean, they are dampened their own condition. So, children, these are the disadvantages of the mixed economy. Now, let us move on to the next topic. Now, here we are going to learn the short term and the long term goals of planning in India. I mean, the objectives of the long term as well as the short term goals of planning in India. I mean, why we are in need of implementing the 5 year plans in India. Now we are going to learn this. Children, the long term, you can say, if we are talking about the long period goals are common to all the 5 year plans and are therefore generally studied as the common goals of the 5 year plans or the objective of the planning. I mean, these goals are commonly related to each and every 5 year plans of our country. Children, as you all know, and at present the 13 5 year plans have been running. So if we're talking about the short period goals, these are basically the plan specific and are generally studied as the objective of the plan. So if the 5 year plans have been concerned with the removal of the economic backwardness of the country and to make India a developed economy. So, therefore, the 5 year plans have also taken care to ensure that the weaker sections of the population benefit from the economic progress of the country. And for your kind information, children, the first 5 year plan was launched for the period starting from 1st April 1951 and ending with 31st March 1956. This was basically the tenure of the first 5 year plan, and thereafter each 5 year plan listed with the basic goals of India's development, which served as a guiding principle of the India's planning. So their basic goals are as under. If we're talking about the basic goals, these are as under. The first one is the economic growth. The first the goal of 5 year plan is the economic growth. Children, as we all know, the stagnation during the British rule forced the planners to make the economic growth as the first and the foremost objective of the Indian plans, isn't it, children? In the year 1947, when India got the freedom, at that point of time the condition of India was very worse. After 200 years of British rule, now India has got independence. The condition was very stagnant and poor. The Britishers have exploited our natural as well as the human resources. So now in that particular year, since we got the independence, a major focus, a major objective is to plan such the economic growth as the first and the foremost objective of the India's plan. So growth refers to increase in the country's capacity to produce the output of goods and services within the economy, and growth implies either a larger stock of productive capital or a larger size of supporting services like the transport and the banking, or an increase in the efficiency of productive capital and services. So increase in that way we can say that a good indicator of the economic growth in the language of economics is steady increase in the gross domestic product. I mean, in the economies the economic growth can be determined when there is a increase in the gross domestic product, that is GDP. Now what is GDP? Children, GDP refers to the market value of all the final goods and services produced in a country during a period of 1 year. So, increase in GDP, or you can say the availability of the goods and services, enables the people to enjoy a more rich and varied life. So the GDP of a country basically is derived from the different sectors, as you all must be knowing. The first one is your agriculture sector, industrial sector, and the service sectors of the economy, which we call as the three sectors. The first one is the primary sector, secondary sector, and the third is the tertiary sector. So in some countries, the growth in agriculture contributes more to the GDP growth, while in some countries growth in the services sectors contribute more to the GDP growth. In the last video I have already cleared this point, where I have explained you that if in different countries, like if we have in that last lecture, we are comparing our country's economy, the overall distribution of workforce as compared with the other countries, like the USA and the you can say London, or in the Japan. We have already learned that 72.7% of India's population are engaged basically doing the agriculture sector. I mean, the major contribution in the GDP for India, it comes like 72.7% separately from the agriculture sector. So I mean, out of 100% of GDP, 72.7% contribution comes from the agricultural sector only, which is not considered as the primary sector. Then the secondary sector we have 10.1, and the remaining 9 point something is from the tertiary sector. So, if we're talking about the economic growth, it refers to increase in the country's capacity to produce the output of goods and services within the country. So, it implies either a larger stock of productive capital or an increase in the efficiency of productive capital and communications. So, in other words, it means a steady increase in the growth of the GDP. It is necessary to produce goods and services if the country needs to achieve a higher growth level. Next, we have employment. Children, full employment. I mean, the next focus is for improving the employment. So, children, full employment. We are learning a full employment. Full employment refers to a situation when all the people who are able to work and willing to work at a market wage rate are getting work. I mean, the people, those who are willing to work and able to work, must get work at a minimum wage rate. So, in other words, those who are able to work and are willing to work must get work, and this is also the social objective of the planning. The objective of the full employment focus on the inclusive growth. It implies more and more people should participate in the process of the growth, and benefits of growth must be shared across different sections of the society. Because if more and peoples are getting employment, then then the economic condition of the people will really improves. Everybody is getting money to live a standard life, and once they start up their own earning and they getting earning as well, then they can go into the market and they are demanding various goods and services. So in that way also the GDP of our economy increases. So this was a major focus of the 5-year plans in India. Next we have the equity and equality. So, children, in equity and equality, the objective of the growth, modernization, and the self-reliance by themselves may not improve the kind of people or the kind of life with peoples are living. So, children, uh, it means the equal distribution would mean every individual in the society gets the same share in the country's national income. It would imply a situation like when a doctor gets the same salary as a clerk in the hospital, and no society would ever seen a situation like this. Then we have the equity. Now see the equitable distribution. Children, equitable distribution on the other hand refers to the situation when difference in income are allowed but only within the certain limits. So their differences are socially unwarranted and are to be proportionate to the differences in the qualification and skills of different individuals in the society. So when a doctors get 50,000 to perform a surgery lasting for a 1 hour, while on the other hand a factory worker gets 50,000 for the entire year working 8 hours a day, the difference in income is too large to be socially justified. So, such differences must be corrected. So, equity in terms of equitable distribution of income implies that the economic growth is related to the social justice. So, it is only when the economic growth is related to the social justice that growth is converted into the development. So, the planning in India focus on the growth with justice. So it is, as I just said, it is very necessary to ensure that every people of the country should be able to meet their basic needs such as food, education, health facility in order to reduce the inequality of a life. So, in additions to this objective, children, modernization and self-reliance equity is also very important, and it is very important to ensure that the benefits of the economic prosperity are availed by all the sectors, whether they are rich sectors as well as the poor factors. In poor sectors, it is not like the growth are limited only for the richer sections. I mean, the growth can be come only for the richer sections in hands, whereas the poor sections does not get any kind of growth or the social development. Next we have modernization. So children, modernization refers to updation, and it refers to the updation and adoption of modern technology in the process of production. As noted earlier, children, output can be increased only either by increasing the pool of the resources or by using innovative technology. But now, the Indian planners have also recognized the need of modernization of society to raise the standard of living of the people, and modernization includes adoption of the new technology and change in the social output. So, children, modernization aims to increase the production of goods and services through the use of the new technology. For example, like a farmer can increase the output of the farm by using the new seeds varieties instead of using the old one. So similarly, a factory can increase output by using a new type of machine. We also need a change in the social output, like modernization also requires change in the social output, such as gender empowerment or providing equal rights to women also. So a society will be more civilized and prosperous if it is make use of the talent of the women in the workplace. I mean, we are also included the women also for the various needs of production or for any job, so that we can also give them age to come ahead and they can also compete with the male gender. Next work is the self-reliance. I mean, it self-reliance means to it refers to the utilization of country's resources in order to promote economic growth and modernization without using the growth imported of the other countries. It means it means avoiding the import of those goods which can be produced in India itself. It is necessary in order to reduce our development for the foreign countries in order to safeguard the sovereignty of a country and the unnecessary foreign interference in the country's policies. So this is basically the next one. For that, children, the land reforms system was also the you can say the prime goals of the Indian planning. As you all know, there was always a gulf between the tillers of the soil and the owners of the soil. The you can say the tillers of the soil, I mean the jamidars, are getting rich day by day. They are less interested for the wellness as well as the growth of the Indian agriculture, but they are in keen interest of increasing their standard of living and to live a lavish life. Whereas the farmers who are considered as the tiller of the soil, they were exploited day by day, and they were always face a loss just because of either the production was not appropriate, or either they have been exploited by the zamindars. So, just to improve or to develop the agriculture sector, the government has introduced the land reforms. The various land reform systems has been introduced. The land reforms were initiated in order to bring equity in the ownership of the land holdings. It was decided to establish intermediaries and to make the tiller of the owners of the land, to give the tillers initiative to invest in major improvements in land provided the sufficient capital was made available to him. I mean, previously in the British rule, the colonial rule, the jamidars were exploited. The jamidars exploited the tillers of the soil, that is farmers. They giving them some uh, some money at a high rate of interest, and they are seldom distribute the cost of production, whereas they are keenly interested in distributing majorly the crops and to increase the rent after a certain point of time. So, just to give the average, the government decided to increase more financial institutions in India, just to give and protect the farmers, and to make available him the capital at the least prices incentives. I mean the least price of interest. So the land ceiling, the green revolutions have been adopted just to give good help to the farmers. So land ceiling refers to fixing the maximum size of land which can be owned by the individual. And green revolution is like the government has introduced high yielding varieties of seeds just to protect the farmer's crop and to increase the agricultural productivity and production. So the farmer should be provide adequate financial resources in order to purchase the agricultural inputs. Children, that's all for today's. And in today's video, what we have learned first, we have learned what is the economic planning, the need of the economic planning. Thereafter, we do have learned the directive planning and the comprehensive planning, the type of economies, the capitalist, the socialist, and the mixed economy. And we do have cover up the long period goals of planning in India. This was the topic what we have understood. I mean, in today's video we will understand all these topics. Now in the next video we are going to learn the short term period goals of planning in India. Thereafter we are going to learn the features of the economic policy pursued under the planning till the 1991. Thereafter, the success of the economic planning, all the 5 year plans in India, we do have learned the failures as well. So, children, I hope today's you will understand all these topics. So, children, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and Saira. Have a nice day.